People who open orphanages and look after children who are orphans in their orphanages are doing something incredible, aren't they? They're doing something good that helps the children and helps the world and helps create stable adults who can be part of our future. Well, the answer to that question would be no. Orphanages are not what we think they are. In fact, data from UNICEF Save the Children and Home and Hopes for Children points out that out of the 8 million children who are thought to be in orphanages worldwide, at least 80% of them are not orphans. They have families, parents who could take care of them. So why are we putting them in orphanages? Well, worldwide, the major cause for institutionalizing children is poverty. And I don't know, what do you think? Is poverty a reason for separating children from their families? Or do we need to rethink orphanages today? So let me tell you something else. When a family is poor, you might think that if the child is in an orphanage that is well funded, it would be better off, right? Wrong again. Orphanages are not good for children. There's nothing like a good orphanage. There's been a lot of research since 2006 when the UN published a study on violence that showed that violence in institutions was disturbingly common. One of the reasons for this is that people who are pedophiles or sex abusers always veer towards employment in situations where you have unsupervised children. So especially in the developing world, you can imagine that orphanages are a magnet for such people. There's another problem with child-on-child abuse. So what happens is, if you get 50 damaged children and you lock them up with another 50 damaged children, are you really expecting good outcomes? Like, child-on-child abuse is a real thing. And I think there's been an incredible amount of research. Anas Amario Anas has done 2 big exposés in Ghana. But there's been a lot of research over the last few years about how orphanages can be set up with good intentions by people who want to help but haven't been educated maybe in social work or child psychology. And so what happens is that good intentions go wrong, and sometimes the money runs out, and then the staff-to-child ratio suffers, and the nutrition suffers, and there's bullying, and there's a lot of things that go wrong. There can be child exploitation. There can be all kinds of criminal activities, of course, like sale of children, exploitation of the children for illegal adoption, exploitation of the children for pregnancies, or literally becoming a baby farm where those babies can be sold because they're born to teenage girls who are living in an orphanage, and everybody has lost track of these girls. So for more information, you can go to the government website, ovcghana.org. But I would say that there is no such thing as a good orphanage. And that's why the UN brought out the alternative guidelines for children. So in the alternative guidelines for children, we are asked to rethink how we want to look after children who've been abandoned, how we want to look after children whose families are too poor to give them access to essential services. Because the truth is, kids get put into orphanages because the families are too poor to give them an education or to give them access to health. And if you're a mother and you love your child and you have to make that choice between seeing your child not go to school or not have enough to eat or give him into the orphanage around the corner that's well funded, what are you going to do? I believe that no mother, no parent wants to give up their child. So for a moment now, just close your eyes and imagine that you're a little 4-year-old girl. And this is what's happened in your life. Your father has run away and left your mother in a country that she doesn't know and where people speak a language that she doesn't understand. You are 4 years old and your mother doesn't know what to do. Sometimes for dinner, you have Maggie in a cup of hot water because that is all there is. When the lights go out, she can't afford to call an electrician because maybe the bill will be too much to pay. Ladies and gentlemen, I was that little girl. I was that little girl, and this is my story. And this is why I do what I do. Because when I was 4 years old, my father abandoned me, and I was put into temporary foster care. And that temporary foster care was a lifesaver. They fed me, they looked after me, they sent me to school on a scholarship. I had a family, and my mother came to visit every day. And after 1 year, she'd found a job, she was back on her feet, and she took me back. And I grew up in my biological family, like everybody needs to. That foster care gave me a chance, it gave me an opportunity. Now, if that same little girl had been growing up in Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, she would have been sent to an orphanage. And that's what we have to stop. That's why we have to rethink orphanages. Children need families, they need to grow up in families, and there is a solution. Foster care, extended family care. My organization has an incredible program where we have served hundreds of children throughout Ghana with social workers who monitor families, who give families startup capital. We give parenting education. We help children stay in their families. For those families that are abusive, where there's incest, which is something we come across quite often, basically about 30% of our children are from families that are abusive. We have foster care, paid, professional foster care, very small homes with children who are able to create a link of affection for life. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what I think that a child needs to thrive is not a color TV or carpet wall to wall or even 3 meals a day. Do you know what a child needs to thrive? And I can tell you because I've been there. I was a foster kid, and then I was a foster mom. A child needs a link of love and affection with someone, with an adult for life, with a caring adult for life. And orphanages can never provide that. Please rethink orphanages. There are other solutions, and they work. Tried and tested. Orphanages are a colonial import. They never worked. They've been banned in most of the Western world. But we in Africa are still using a model that doesn't work. It's time to rethink. It's time to get our priorities right. If West Africa has one thing that we can export to the world, it's the extended family network. It takes a village to raise a child. And we have that. So let's be proud and bring up our children in families. Thank you.